What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and we're back for another episode of the fighting game tutorial series. In today's episode, we are going to be going over cleaning up our animation blueprints even further. So recently in the series, we have been going over cleaning up our code, our blueprints, our project in general, making things more easily expanded, and a lot of other things so that we can prepare for our final fundamental elements such as our rollback netcode, our story with AI, and our tag mode. We've already started all of these and we're going to be continuing with them, but we want to make sure that our code is nice and clean, as scalable as possible, and as efficient as possible so that we can have all these things in our game and support all these things in our game without running into issues and requiring a lot of rework. Really, the only things that we have left to do at this point are some of the animation blueprint and some of the hitboxes, and even they are getting close to being done. We're going to be continuing along today with our animation blueprint. So specifically in today's episode, we're going to go over throw logic, removing a lot of the logic from the animation blueprint, putting in the character where I believe it belongs, and also categorizing some of our functions and behavior. Now before we hop into this episode, if you want to get caught up in the entire fighting game tutorial series, see how we've done things like our homing projectiles, our practice mode debug stats, our input stack and input buffer, and a whole lot more, I'll link you to the entire fighting game tutorial series right here in the top right corner, and you can check out how we've done all of that. Alternatively, if you only care about the animation blueprint, either having a clean animation blueprint in your game or making an animation blueprint for a fighting game, you don't have to check out the entire series and follow along with every episode, but I do recommend that you check out at least some of the other episodes where we're cleaning up our animation blueprint. I think this is really important because I go into a lot of detail about why I want to change certain things or convert certain things from blueprints to code or make them more expandable and scalable. So if you watch those episodes and you're familiar with that reasoning, then episodes like this will make a lot more sense. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So this is a code and blueprint tutorial series, as I mentioned. We're going to be converting a lot of logic from blueprints to code today. So we'll start off by going into our animation blueprint. Blueprints, AnimBPs. We'll go into our mutant AnimBP root motion. In here, we want to look at the events or functions that we want to convert. So specifically, I have two comments down here in my animation blueprint, and these are comments that contain all of our throwing animations and behavior for those throwing animations. We have two methods in the series. We have one method where we just attach the components to the character. So for example, we attach the character being thrown to a specific socket and allow them to be thrown this way. This is similar to Rash from Killer Instinct, how he picks up his opponent and he can walk with them. This method does work, and you can hook it up at any point in the series and use it, but I decided to use matching animations instead for the majority of my throws. So I left these ones uncommented with no event, and instead I have the events up here doing everything that we would want to do when a throw occurs. We'll talk more about this method later, cleaning it up, organizing it, keeping it if we want without hindering our current setup and without needing to switch back and forth between the two methods. But for today's episode, the main focus is the matching animations section. This is how our animations work now. So what happens is we have a throwing animation and an animation for getting thrown. When a character executes a grab, if the grab hitbox, or the throw hitbox, as we call it, collides, then grab successful is run. And when grab successful is run, we do some logic to essentially say, we know that we've grabbed a character, so we're going to prepare for a throw. Then down below this, we have a section where we apply the throw force, which is basically just the actual movement of the throwing of the character. Some of you may be using root motion for your throws, so you don't need to apply direct launch or physics values here to move the character when they're thrown. Then we have move collider to mesh, which is when we are done with the throw, we're ready to reattach their colliders, set up their collision responses correctly again. And we have the apply throw damage, which is the point of the throw where the damage actually occurs. And you could have multiple of these if your throw has multiple points in which the character would take damage. The first thing I want to focus on is move collider to mesh. This is probably the easiest of the events to convert from blueprints to code for this specific section outside of apply throw damage, which we definitely can convert apply throw damage to code if we want. But apply throw damage is really just utilizing the hitbox and calling take damage. Very similar to our other hitboxes. The difference here is when we are creating the other hitboxes, we don't know that we've collided and we don't know that we should deal damage. We're just setting up to deal damage. Whereas in this case, we know the throw has already been completed, so we're just manually applying damage. We're not checking for a hitbox. So I'm perfectly content with leaving this in the blueprints, the AnimBP, but move collider to mesh, in my opinion, should be converted to code. What this function is really doing is waiting until the throw is finished. Then we had an actor offset location. And the reason for this location was so that we could set the world location of the other character's capsule component. We were doing this because when we throw our opponent, and I can do this so that you can visualize it, we allow them to cross over us. We are disabling our collision very specifically so that we can make sure that the character can go to the other side without us having our capsule components block each other. Right? They can just cross over. And because of this, what we're actually doing is changing the collision channels, moving the capsule component to the expected location after the throw, and then changing the collision channels back to a blocking value. That's what this function is really doing. It is specifically the part about moving the location of the capsule component. We also allow the camera to resume tracking the character's movements at this point, because once the collisions are back in place, we can assume the characters have been moved out of any situations where if they were blocking and they need to be pushed away from each other, if the characters were inside of each other, they no longer are. So the camera can track properly. That can definitely all be done in code. And then after that, in Move Collider Mesh, we're now re-enabling our proper collision channels on both the character throwing and the character being thrown. And then after that, we were allowing the character that threw to be able to flip again, because performing a throw stopped the character from flipping. Otherwise, you would get a weird animation result as an artifact of that. What I want to do is convert end unattached throw to a function in our fighter template character class. If we go back into the code now and go to fighter template character.h, I want to scroll down to where my functions are. I will go to my blueprint callable ones specifically because I like to keep them together. I think after successful taunt is probably a good place, or after perform dash, because these are both mechanics. It's a very similar section, and these are also ufunction blueprint callable. So ufunction blueprint callable void, because this function does not return anything, end throw. We had called the event move collider to mesh, but we're making this function right now, and we were calling it end unattached throw because of the method I showed you earlier. We had one just called end throw already, which is for the first method. But I want to condense both of these functions into one function in the code and just check a boolean for if we're attached or not, because the vast majority of end throw is doing the same thing as end unattached throw. The difference is that it detaches the one character that is attached, and then does the same behavior, and it technically does some other stuff as well, but we can refine this as well with our new setup. It's been a while since we've used this one, so it's a little outdated. So just calling this end throw will be more than enough. So ufunction blueprint callable end throw. Add a comment above this. The character has finished throwing another character. Perfect. And then we will go to where we want to add this function. I want to keep it in the same order. So I want to find my perform dash function, which is right here. And we will go below this one. Void a fighter template character, : end throw. Okay, now we have our function that we created in the header. This function takes in a float, the end actor location offset. This value exists because before throwing the character, we disabled the collision with the capsule components, which I mentioned earlier. But when we go to enable them, we need to make sure that the capsule component is in the proper spot. If your animation is not using root motion for your throw, if I come here to mutant thrown, I believe the animation is called, this is the animation you're seeing. You'll notice that the character does move in the animation. I am technically making my movement occur based on the forces. Right here, apply throw force. Not based on the root motion of this animation. Or, if I am using the root motion of this animation, but I want to use the throw force to modify how far the character goes during the animation, then I still can't just rely on the root motion alone. And so in that case, we had this end actor location offset, which allowed us to move the capsule component by the necessary amount to get the collider in the correct spot, even without using root motion, so that when we re-enabled it, everything was where it was supposed to be. Now we want to add this float to our function parameter list, but I don't want to call it end actor location offset. Let's come to void end throw float location offset. I think this is more than enough. If you want to be really specific, you can call it end location offset, but I just think end actor location offset is a little bit too much. This should tell us everything that we need to know. Now we want to add this parameter to our CPP file in the parameter list here. Now let's go back to the blueprint. And what we were doing was using the character reference for the owner of the animation blueprint, which, since we're making this function in our character now, is just self, or this in C++. This. But we don't actually need to do that. We're in the character class, so everything that we're typing here is from this. So we were using the capsule component's location, and we were subtracting from it the parameter value, the float that comes into the function, and then we were adding the parameter value that comes into the function, only to the y value on the capsule component, which is our horizontal value, or our left and right, so the axis the characters are walking on in a 2 and 2.5D fighter. Then we were setting the world location of the capsule component with these new y values, leaving the x and the z values alone. The reason we were doing minus for one and plus for the other is because it is dependent on if the character that is throwing the other character is facing left or facing right. Although probably more accurately, it really depends on which direction the character that's being thrown is thrown, to the left or to the right. For now, this will work, but just keep in mind that that's what's really going on there. Then this default camera reference resume camera is something that we can do, but we'll get into that in a second. So what we want to do here is, again, get the capsule component from this character, get the other player's capsule component, and then do some math to offset them based on where they should be after our throw. This is pretty easy. We ourselves are already a fighter template character, so we can simply check if get capsule component. The capsule component is a root component of a character class, the parent to a fighter template character. And because of that, we have access to the getCapsuleComponent function. So if getCapsuleComponent and other player, which means we have an opponent, that way we can check their capsule component, and other player get capsule component. So if we have a capsule component and we have an other player and we have an other player's capsule component, then we have everything that we need to perform the logic of this function. So once we check those for validity, which we actually weren't in this function, so we're improving it already, I think the best thing to do here is break up this if statement so that we can save out the capsule components for use within this function. So if we actually put if other player as the first condition here, take this out of the second if statement, then we capture these values. So get capsule component returns a U capsule component pointer, capsule component equals get capsule component. We can take out this part of the if statement, put it up here. Other player get capsule component, U capsule component pointer other capsule component equals other player get capsule component. Then take this part out of the if statement, the first condition. So we have both our capsule component and other capsule component here, and we want to check for both of these. So if capsule component and other capsule component, make sure you put your semicolon there, and now we're checking to see if we have everything that we need. Once we enter this if statement, that means we do, and that means we can get the world locations of the capsule component and other capsule component. We know it's world location that we want because that's what we're using here, get world location. So to do this, capsule component arrow get component location. Get component location returns the location of the component in world space. And we're going to want to grab our other capsule component, get component location. Now we have both the capsule components locations in world space. And that takes care of this section right here, as well as this section right here. We're using the character references capsule component location to do the math for where the other player's capsule component should wind up. after the throw. And we can simplify this in the code by making variables for this. F vector capsule location equals capsule component get component location, and then F vector other capsule location equals other capsule component get component location. Then we want to take our capsule location, that's this section here, and we want to subtract from it the parameter or add to it the parameter based on if the character is facing left or right. If is facing right. Remember, end throw is being called on the character performing the throw. So we can simply check for is facing right here. If we're facing right, we're going to set the capsule location to one thing. Otherwise, we're going to set it to something else. So else. Capsule location is going to be used for something else. Going back into Unreal here, if it's true that we're facing right, we're using the y-axis value from the subtraction. So simply enough, capsule location dot y minus end location offset. Now this will get us the same result as the subtraction, and we can plug it directly into the set world location for the other player's capsule component. Other capsule component set world location. We can set it to an F vector that we make right here, right now. For the X and Z values on the F vector that we make, it is going to be the same X and same Z as already existed for the other player's capsule component. The Y is the only thing that's changing. And that means for the first parameter in the F vector, we can simply use other capsule location dot X. For the second parameter, we're going to use our capsule location.y minus end location offset. And for the third parameter, we are going to use other capsule location.z. We can just copy this line and paste it in the else statement. The difference here is we are going to be adding the end location offset for the y parameter in the f vector. So add the capsule location y to the end location offset. That's what we were doing here. Then all of this is taken care of. That we're pretty much done with converting this function. We also have to call resume camera for this to truly work. We'll skip actually handling this in this episode. We'll just move it out of this function. And the reason is I actually want to put this in a different spot. It's going to be very similar. It's not actually going to change our flow, but we have more to clean up with throws in our animation blueprint. So for now, I'm just going to put it outside of the function, remove it from inside this blueprint function, compile and save, and then we'll clean this up. Then after that, instead of calling end unattached throw in move collider for mesh, we're going to call our new function now off of our character reference. So we can get our character reference, we can convert it to a validated get. We need to make sure this is valid before calling a function on it if we don't want to crash. We can drag off of this and call end throw. This is our code function, our C++ function that we made earlier, and we want to make sure that we pass in the same end location offset that was being passed into the blueprint, which is 220. Then we'll clean this up one more time, and you could go through, remove end unattached throw from the animation blueprint. I'm going to keep it for now because we are going to be supporting that end throw logic in the animation blueprint that I was telling you about, the attached version. But once we convert that to code, I will remove both of these functions. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode on cleaning up your animation blueprints in your fighting game. If you did, please subscribe and consider joining the Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord subscriptions to help benefit the channel. It helps me out so much, and I really appreciate you guys, so thank you so much to everyone who already has. You guys are amazing. If you ran into any problems following this tutorial or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There is a link in the description. I would be happy to help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.